Thank you, Dr. Shekhar Seshadri, sir, for this enlightening and thought-provoking presentation. We are sure all the students have gained a very good understanding about the challenges and opportunities throughout this presentation. Since there is a lack of time and the time constraint issues, we are moving to the next session. I request the audience to ask their questions in the chat box, which will be addressed. Moving on to the next session, let me invite our second speaker, Dr. Before moving to the second session, we'd like to honor the chairpersons. Let me invite Dr. Panneerselvam sir to honor Dr. Maushami madam for chairing this session. Thank you, ma'am, for chairing the session. Thank you, sir. Moving on to the next session, let me invite our second speaker, Dr. P.P. Kannan sir, Professor and Head, Department of Psychiatry, Chengalpet Medical College, to deliver his presentation. He is going to talk on child and adolescent psychiatry, the need of the hour. The child and adolescent psychiatry is currently a blooming field with budding psychiatrists. The field is growing potentially and standing unique. The approach is an integrated one and it is multidisciplinary. Let us all hear Dr. P.P. Kannan sir's lecture. Before that, let me invite the chairpersons, Dr. Sabita Balasubramaniam Madam, President, Indian Psychiatry Society, Tamil Nadu Chapter. Currently, she is the Head and Professor of Psychiatry, Stanley Medical College. I welcome you, Madam, to the dais. The other chairperson is Dr. Vikas Menon, Additional Professor, Department of Psychiatry, JIPMER, and also Member, Scientific Committee, IPS, Tamil Nadu Chapter. Let me invite Dr. Sivaselam Sir, the Organizing Secretary, to introduce the speakers.
So thank you. Today's for this session chairperson Dr. V. Sabita, Professor of Psychiatry, Stanley Medical College and Hospital. She graduated MBBS from Stanley Medical College, Chennai. She did her MD Psychiatry from Madurai Medical College. Presently she is a Professor of Psychiatry, Stanley Medical College. Worked for the tsunami affected population at Kadalur and submitted an article for ICMR on psychiatric morbidity of tsunami affected population in the coastal area of Tamil Nadu Kadalur zone. She presented many papers in the various national and international conferences. She held a CME program for the Chennai Psychiatric Society and Tamil Nadu state conferences. She did more than 10 publications in the national and international journals. She is having 20 years of experience in the field of psychiatry and postgraduate teacher for last 15 years. And she is currently holding the post of President, Tamil Nadu IPS. And another chairperson, a good friend of mine, Dr. Vikas Menon, he is currently an additional professor of psychiatry at the Jawaharlal Institute of Postgraduate Medical Education and Research, Pondicherry. Completed his MD Psychiatry in 2008 from JIPMER and DNB Psychiatry in 2009. His areas of interest are digital psychiatry, suicidology and mood disorders. He has published more than 190 peer-reviewed research papers and 4 book chapters. He is on the editorial boards of Indian Journal of Psychiatry and Indian Journal of Psychological Medicine. Thank you, sir, for your kind participation. Thank you, madam, for your kind participation.
I invite you all for the second session of the CME. The speaker is Dr. PPK. I think that he'll be introduced by Dr. Vikas Menon. Before that, it's the child and adolescent psychiatry, the need of the hour. Why this topic was chosen? It's because the presentation would be discussing about the impact, the changing scenario in the increasing number of medical colleges and increasing number of faculties. And are we really increasing the speciality in case of geriatric, pediatric and addiction related disorders? Are we doing it? Whether we should fill that gap, that is important. In the last decade, there had been an increase in the postgraduate strength from 28 to 120 nearly, and it is not proportionally reflected in the specialized psychiatric care, whatever I mentioned before. So, from stigma, the general opinion is to the attention of clinical skills and greater reliance in imaging and lab results for the sake of achieving the precision. So, profoundly affected mental health care and further specialization in various branches of psychiatry. And now we have the CAP services only in actually Institute of Child Health and NIMHANS. So whether we'll have to extend it to the other colleges, because it's only mere that we are training some persons, some postgraduates in other institutes, whether it should have some specialized care, whether some super speciality can be brought out. That's what he's going to speak about. I think over to Dr. Vikas for the introduction of the speaker.
Good afternoon, everybody, respected dignitaries on the floor. It's my pleasant duty and privilege to introduce Dr. P.P. Kannan, a very dear colleague and someone who needs no introduction to us in the academic fraternity, a man who's very passionate about teaching and learning psychiatry. Dr. P.P. Kannan, or Dr. P.P.K. as he is fondly known, currently Professor and Head of the Department of Psychiatry in Chengalpet Medical College, completed MBBS in 97 at Madras Medical College and MD Psychiatry in 2006, also at Madras Medical College. Has presented multiple papers in ANSIPS conferences and topics in symposium organized in annual conferences, and published many papers in index journals. He is currently involved in promoting research in mental health and is a member of the Research Capacity Building Committee of South Zone as well as Tamil Nadu chapter of Indian Psychiatric Society. But more importantly, his area of interest is child and adolescent psychiatry, and he has published a book on child mental health for teachers and parents. He is going to speak about child and adolescent psychiatry, the need of the hour. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon to everybody. Thanks for your nice words, Dr. Vikas Menon. The topic, child and adolescent psychiatry, the need of the hour. This would be a very simple presentation based on my experiences and the efforts in organizing a child psychiatry unit currently in Chengalpattu Medical College. And I think one of the office bearer during the inauguration meeting, I think our secretary had mentioned about he had not been exposed to child psychiatry during his training, 3-year training. And this happens every time because parent department wants to retain the postgraduates for work. And last year, due to COVID, I myself was not able to send PGs for adequate training. In spite of that, we made arrangements and sent them to ICH for training. So the point is, everyone need to know about what is happening in child and adolescent psychiatry unit, how it can be organized. I had discussed with a few of my friends who had finished a fellowship or a DM in child and adolescent psychiatry. With the inputs on certain points, I am just presenting this topic. When I talk about this, we have to plan for 8.37 crore population of Tamil Nadu. It is not about organizing CAP services in ICH alone. One more institution in Tamil Nadu is CMC Vellore Nambikai Nilayam at Bahayam. So this is one branch of specialization from psychiatry. 10 years ago, there was no super specialization. after MD Psychiatry. Now, for the past 10 years, many people are coming out with the DM and the fellowships. I think this is right time to discuss about this topic. These are the points I plan to cover during my presentation. Burden of the CIP problems, stakeholders, professionals involved, training programs being run here, research in CIP, medical records, medicines required for young children, naming the services, learning disability, parents, schools, and legal aspects. Coming to the burden of the childhood behavioral problems, we all know that child and adolescents are about 25 to 30% of the general population. For 130 crore population of India, definitely this specialized service would be required for about 40 crore population in general. These are all approximate values. But how to deliver these services? The burden is mainly comes out of budget, poor allocation from budget, from the government. The priorities are different for policymakers. So we have to overcome this first. In the Political and Economic Weekly, it is said that health cannot be just raised attending to the medical care alone. It is well understood, and WHO also defined health as a state of complete well-being in physical, mental, and social perspectives. So we have to address the social determinants, cultural determinants, and the economic factors involved in delivering the services. The Sidaya and Kermode, they had analyzed the factors hindering the delivery of services. They had identified that first and foremost thing is lack of policy initiatives and poor implementation. And the healthcare is mostly seen as medical care, which is not true. The biomedical reductionism had definitely impaired our approach to raising the health. The lack of community participation, lack of coordination at different levels are also pointed out. Other things like lack of availability of mental health professionals, other paramedical professional resources, poor attitude of people, stigma, gender-related issues, lack of knowledge among public, all had been attributed. Coming to the stakeholders, I just mentioned only 4 people. There are many stakeholders, like patient himself is a stakeholder, caretaker, the neighbor, teacher, schools, the education policies makers. They are also partly stakeholders. I just mentioning these 4 people who are involved in child psychiatry care organizers. So the government component is very less from my perspective. That is a very few number of child and adolescent psychiatrist units are functioning in Tamil Nadu, whereas the non-governmental organizations are so good in delivering services. They are innovative because there is no hindrance. They are working from the motivation from inside, whereas the government, there are policy makers, there are administrators, there are technical leaders and the technical people. All need to think in a synchronized manner to deliver the efficient care. The corporate is not much interested in delivering child psychiatry services. Reason being, Yes. So corporates are now, they are paying less attention to this problem. Reason being it is less remunerative. The last group, individual practitioners of various professionals like psychiatrists, pediatricians, clinical psychologists, social workers, counselors, so many people are there, and they work independently and help people to get out of their psychological distress. But out of these four stakeholders, I would be discussing more about issues related to government services. The reason being, government is meant for this. Government should set standards. Government should run a model, that is, should run a department so that others can follow the rules set by them, guidelines provided by the government units. One single reason is they are not for profit. In Tamil Nadu, we all know that it is well ahead compared to other states. DMHP is implemented in 32 districts, but none of the districts have specialized child and adolescent psychiatry units. We have about 31 postgraduate departments in Tamil Nadu. Out of 31, 12 are with the government. Only Madras Medical College alone having child and adolescent psychiatry unit. Every year, about 118 psychiatry PGs are coming out. The quality of training definitely need to be thought about, and it has to be improved. The psychiatry nurses, as I discussed with a psychiatry nurse, only 13 MSc psychiatry nurses are coming out of government institutions, whereas 269 MSc psychiatric nurses are coming out. I really do not know what happens to these psychiatry nurses when they come out. Whether any discussion on employability of these psychiatric nurses, how government is absorbing them, or how employment is being created. All these need to be deliberated, discussed, and definitely need to be passed on to the policymakers. So the worrisome aspect is only 2 institutions currently in Tamil Nadu providing this child and adolescent psychiatry institutions, child and adolescent psychiatry services. One is ICH, which is part of Madras Medical College. Another one is CMC Vellore. CMC Vellore has the long tradition of delivering the psychiatry services. They have a separate, almost a institution. That psychiatry department itself is an institution located in Bahayam. I had visited that place. They organize a Nambikai Nilayam meant for developmental disorders and behavioral issues related to developmental disorders. So I think we need to work more to raise more number of institutions. The paramedical professionals coming out of arts and science colleges like social workers, the special educators coming out of college, that is educational institutions. We don't have any data. I had discussed with a few senior people, but we couldn't get it. Probably we need to work on all these data so that it will help us to frame a good policy. What's the concept prevailing among doctors and general public? Doctors are no different from general public. As far as I am concerned, I had seen senior doctors, they refer patients, sir, counseling panni anupunga. So they do not know the components involved in meeting the patients. First, developing the rapport, evaluating the individual, discussing the diagnosis, and preparing a management plan, and delivering the management plan in multiple settings. But people believe that visiting a psychiatrist 1 or 2 sittings would remove all his bad behaviors, that is undesirable behaviors. And a few people refer for guidance from the psychiatrist. It cannot be simple guidance alone sometimes. We may need to induct the child into a program, or we may need to prescribe medicines. Many people are averse for receiving a pharmacotherapy treatment. So what is required? We, mental health professional, psychiatrists, need to adopt cognitive behavioral emotional approach whenever we see a child. The popular biopsychosocial model definitely need to be adopted here. We should not jump to symptom counting, making a diagnosis, because no such thing is easy in child and adolescent psychiatry. So we have to think of innumerous factors, and we have to work with a team of people. It cannot be the psychiatrist alone. Whereas in adult psychiatry, it is easy. We individually see a patient, evaluate, and deliver. Whereas here, we have to work with the teacher. We have to get inputs from clinical psychologist. We have to collect information from social worker, and everything put together, we have to prepare a plan. After the plan, care delivers falls in a spectrum. At one end, child can be managed at home with informed parents or support from the Anganwadi workers or from A&M nurses visiting from PHC. Whereas at the other end, the disruptive child may need to be admitted at times and may need to be sedated. The children or adolescents suffering from psychosis with aggression need to be admitted. So it's a wide spectrum. So the care can be at any point. The biopsychosocial model we all aware, and we need to consider from all the three perspectives. This is a one model. Braun Verbrunner had evolved this model, that is, child is considered as a point where he is receiving the impact of various layers of the environment, that is family, school and peer group, wider community, state and physical world. The intra-individual factors like his opinion about himself, in intellectual ability, motor skills, executive functions, language ability, social skills, all interact with the outer layers, and that's how the personality evolves. Coming to this biopsychosocial model, we had all been well trained as a medical graduate during our MBBS degree, and to compare the various fields, the surgical field where the surgeons pays very meager attention to this biological, that is psychological or social factors. He is mainly focused on integrity of the body parts, anatomical parts. Whereas coming to medical field, especially with the rise of non-communicable diseases, physicians are nowadays paying little more attention to psychological factors and social factors. You take diabetes, hypertension, or bronchial asthma, they advise patients accordingly. And this is a must. They have to exhaust non-pharmacological interventions before prescribing a medicine. The same thing happens with the general psychiatry, that is adult psychiatry. But the number of factors involved in evolution of illness are more. So we pay more attention in analyzing the social and the psychological factors. When we come to child and adolescent psychiatry services, the role for biological factors are very less. The social factors are much more than what we consider with the adult. The psychological factors are innumerous. So the impact of school, the impact of peer group, the father or mother relationship with a son or daughter, the relatives visiting the house, neighbors, everything need to be considered as the child is presenting with the professional. Now coming to the important point, the quality of training. See, we can grossly divide it into medical professionals and paramedical professionals. My worry is the training of our own colleagues, that is the psychiatry training. Nowadays we call them resident. How many months we are posting them in child and adolescent psychiatry? Hardly 3 months. In MMC Stanley, probably in Chennai colleges, they get 2 months of posting. From Chengalpattu, we refer them for a month. What about other medical colleges? I said 31 medical colleges are, that is postgraduate departments are here in Tamil Nadu. Number of medical colleges are nearing 72. So with 31 medical colleges, leave that 4 medical colleges in Chennai, including Chengalpattu, and leave the CMC. If we leave these 5 institutions, what happens to the postgraduates? I enumerated that 118 postgraduate psychiatrists are coming out every year. The quality of training definitely need to be raised. All academicians need to come together. We need to find a way out of this particular issue so that the younger generation will be having more knowledge and skills in handling children. Nowadays, the DM and fellowships are available, but the DM is available in NIMHANS and PGI Chandigarh. Fellowships are available in CMC Vellore and NIMHANS. In NIMHANS fellowships, they provide a 3 months fellowship, 1 year fellowship, whereas in CMC Vellore, they provide a 2-year fellowship. Currently, the Dr. Vimal Joshi, who is a speaker tomorrow, and Dr. Preeti Kandasamy, who is involved in coming up with the guidelines in anxiety disorders of childhood, and she is working with children with autism, and they prepared a curriculum for psychiatrists who had completed and in practice, and the preparation is underway. Hope they will complete it in time and come out with some ideas for Tamil Nadu IPS, so that everybody would be sensitized, or the standards of the whole society can be raised. Coming to paramedical professionals, the clinical psychologist, I think these professionals need to be mentioned with more attention here. I had worked with so many clinical psychologists, seen many people, and I appreciate the good quality within them. But my worry is that their training is 3 years BSc in Arts College, 2 years in that is MSc, and 2 years in MPhil. In 2 years MPhil, they do 6 months training under a psychiatrist. The clinical exposure during their university training is very, very less. If somebody says that they had worked with a psychiatrist, I'm able to understand their quality. When someone comes out of a university degree fresh, I have my own doubts about their exposure to children and handling children's problem. Special educators, Balavihar is said to be the model center previously. About 600 colleges, that is educational colleges are there who are delivering B.Ed degree. I have no idea about what quality is provided and what is the standards prevailing there. Remedial education we discussed during treatment plan, but there is no special remedial education teachers I had come across. Speech and language pathologist, yes, this is almost equivalent to a neuroscience. Extensive reading and extensive analysis of child's language and speech problem being done by these professionals. Unfortunately, how far they had adapted themselves to Tamil speaking population. How much analysis or research had been done in this area? Again, that need to be addressed. Occupational therapist. Currently, the trend is whenever a psychiatrist sees a patient, they refer the patient to occupational therapist and speech therapist. I think with emerging evidences, the sensory integration need not be routinely prescribed to all autism children. So when there is no fine motor issues or sensory integration issues, what is the need for occupational therapist? Yes, definitely he can be a resource person, keeps the child occupied. That itself is a major benefit for the child. But technically, how effectively they are delivering services, what is the outcome because of their efforts, that need to be addressed. As I already discussed, psychometric tools, most of the tools are not language adapted or culturally adapted. Dr. Professor O. Somasundaram sir had translated BKT in 1978. And without knowing that, I made effort to translate BKT. I couldn't progress much. Reason being that requires a lot of tools so that it can be completed. So finally, I learned that this requires some institutional approach for developing these tools. Tools which can be read or which can be delivered by reading can be easily developed, which requires weights, cards, and wooden boxes and all. Definitely it requires some specialized scheme or project. That is why the vessels are in fact developed by a corporation. They continuously update their tools and they validate it. When we are part of a child and adolescent psychiatry in ICH, I worked there for 6 years under the guidance of Dr. Jayantini, Professor Dr. Jayantini. And madam had referred me to few psychologists she had known. And I learned about these tools because of her support and her blessings, I should say this. Coming to medical records, and I think this component is again missing in almost most of the medical colleges. I do not know about private medical colleges. The child guidance clinic, currently called as a child and adolescent psychiatry department in ICH. It was previously well equipped with MRD. Now, due to certain issues, we are not able to maintain it robust. So what do? We write down the points and give the notebook to the child. With this new announcement from Prime Minister last year, the National Digital Health Mission currently being implemented in union territories, including Pondicherry. Probably this will help us to maintain records better and we will be able to deliver services better. The HMIS, which is practiced in Tamil Nadu government medical colleges and other hospitals, I think they have no use. It's are simply sitting inside the rooms. I had been nodal officer for this HMIS for 3 years. I made a lot of efforts, but I couldn't improve it. Reason being, there are technical issues and funding issues. Coming to the medicine for young population, the availability of medicine in a sustained manner in the dose formulation that is required for a child is freely available in outside market, but difficult in government institutions. Again, we need to work on this area so that the risperidone can be given 0.5 milligram comfortably, or else currently we are getting 4 milligram of risperidone. We request the parent to break it into 8 pieces and give the small minuscule part of the tablet, which is very difficult. So it is not the healthcare professionals, child and adolescent psychiatrist alone. It is a MRD, it is a medicine availability, the ecosystem prevailing inside a college, everything need to be considered to raise this field. Another important issue is learning disability. I have been trying to address this issue to simplify certain issues, but we couldn't. During the last meeting in IPS, they formed a committee, including me in the committee, and we are working on it. Hope we will be able to give some guidelines to our professional body. The challenges present in certifying specific learning disability are: there is a gross mismatch between the prevalence of the problem and the current certifying system of to be certified by medical boards. I think the medical boards are highly inadequate to handle this. We have to consider extra resources, and we have to come out with some other solution so that it would be made easy, and so that children would get benefited. We have to work on the guidelines and the policy formulations. The pre-certification, post-certification process also need to be considered. The psychometric tools, according to Dr. Vimal Joshi, the NIMHANS battery itself is not adequate. And the language issues, as I had discussed in many forums, the learning disability is because of opaqueness of English language, whereas the Tamil is a transparent language where we can easily presume that prevalence of LD is tend to be much lower. In that scenario, how do we assess specific learning disability in a Tamil speaking population, Tamil speaking children? I think these are all issues. Without addressing these issues, we are doing some services, but we need more technically qualified people. We need more research in this area. Another important point is name. For example, Nambike Nilayam in CMC Vellore, it reduces stigma. So, whenever a general practitioner or pediatrician refers a child, the child reaches the center most of the time. Whereas, if you refer the child to a child psychiatrist place, the colleagues I discussed with whom, that is with whom I had discussed, they said the referrals are dropping out. So we can probably rename it. One or two young psychiatrists are not comfortable with this plan of renaming it, but we can think about it, we can deliberate it at various forums, and we can go by consensus. These are all words. Sambharati Nilayam, that is what I tried to type, but as the system changed, I couldn't get the words exactly. Or we can develop a plan called Surya Gandhi Thittam, so that it reduces. These are all about taking the science to people in the way it is more acceptable to them. We can think about it, we can discuss, and we can decide on it. Any special programs available in child and adolescent psychiatry? No. We need to work hard to develop guidelines and policies for this area. And the liaison with the social welfare department definitely need to be strengthened. Most of the time, the policies and programs are coming out of social welfare department because they are handling the disability, and the intellectual disability, autism spectrum disorders are need to be certified and need to be covered under the special schemes. That is the monthly disability benefits to be passed on to them. So they are working hard. But what about from our that is mental health professionals? So how to give inputs to policymakers? One can write to State Mental Health Authority, or we can discuss and come out with a statement to impress upon government so that the policies can be initiated. NGOs are playing a big role nowadays, and patient welfare associations are available in foreign countries, especially in USA, but in Tamil Nadu, I had not come across. Probably we need to promote associations for children having intellectual disability and ASD. Media, yes, we can easily influence the policymakers through media. About the State Mental Health Authority, people believe that it is one or two people. It's a body consists of 20 people, in which DMS, DME, DPH, IMH director, ex officio, that is a psychiatrist in service, and a retired psychiatrist, and CEO. There are 4 psychiatrists are inside the State Mental Health Authority, and we can easily reach them out, and we can initiate a discussion in the SMHA meetings. So this part definitely we can do, and we can bring at least certain issues for discussion. Whether we are able to reach it to the end of making a policy, at least we can initiate a discussion. License services, yes, the child and adolescent psychiatry services cannot be complete without a license, with the child welfare committees and the judicial forums and the law enforcing officer. The POXO cases and all frequently being referred to government departments. In one case, the inspector of police asked அந்த குழந்தை அந்த child sexual abuse நடந்தப்ப என்ன மனநிலையில இருந்தாரு. I got shocked on seeing this letter. Probably they do not know how to make a referral or how to ask an opinion from a child psychiatrist. So these kind of things we can liaise, we can educate the other departments, we can help them out. Yes. As I already told you, ignoring the parents, we cannot deliver these services. The parent education program, parent training program, few countries it is called the parent management training. All these are not happening here. Probably few NGOs may be organizing here, but it is not available as a program with the government services, which can be initiated. Community nutritional worker at Anganwadi can be trained, they can be involved in delivering these services. So, whenever we feel child and adolescent psychiatry service, it should not be restricted to psychiatrist or psychologist alone. We have to go beyond our office rooms and we have to get into community to help the families to reduce the stress. Schools, the bullying prevention program and all available in UK, but not here. I just a completion sake, I am mentioning policies need to be developed related to all these issues. Specific learning disability, bullying, substance abuse. Legal aspects need to be sensitized. We need to visit juvenile homes, child sexual abuse, children also need to be taken care well. Recently, we organized a lecture with the next speaker, Dr. Soumya. She had took a class extensively on how to interview a victim. In fact, I learned many points during her lecture, and this need to be passed on to all our professionals. And before concluding this session, I just share my experiences in Chengalpattu, where I am in the process of establishing CAP unit. We decided to develop a CAP unit in the end of 2019, and we invited IMH director, and subsequently she came and we opened the unit. We started liaising with the community nutritional worker and primary school teachers so that regular referral channels can be established. As we are making few little steps, the corona pandemic happened. Subsequently, all the administrative system and regular services are dethroned and we are out of gear. And again, we start working on establishing this particular unit. Hope it will come up in full-fledged manner in few years. And during the COVID period, me along with psychologist Nitya and assistant professor Sudhakar, we published a papers. It was more perusal of past records because we had no much work. So we worked on this project. We brought out all the old records and it brought out certain facts. I'm really worried about the facts. I read it out. The study revealed 2/3 of individuals with the ASD also have intellectual disability. More than half of the mothers of individuals with ASD did not breastfeed beyond 12 months. About 1/3 of individuals with ASD have not availed any kind of services. 1/3 of individuals, that is children. It took about 6 years for them to reach CAP services. So I think when we are able to see almost 1/3 of children not able to get care, meaning that this area definitely need to be strengthened. the developmental disorders, who is best? Frequently, this kind of discussion would come across our doctor circle, whether pediatrician or child psychiatrist. The science does not accept boundaries. Someone who is very good at one particular area, he developed his own skill and he gains more knowledge. Probably he can work on it. Only when legal issues comes, one need to face it. We all know that Tamil Nadu weatherman, who had more followers of more than 1 lakh, 2 lakh, I have no idea, definitely more than 1 lakh. And people are much interested in following him rather than regular Vanile Mayam Arike. So, in this, addressing this question, the pediatricians are at advantage of following up the children in longitudinal manner, whereas the psychiatrists and child psychiatrists are good in behavioral approach and analyzing psychosocial factors. So, everyone need to know their own strength and weakness, and we have to handle the child. For the best of the child, we have to work on the child. Pediatricians definitely need to be part of our team, and we should accept our lead role in delivering these services. That is what being challenged at times. I had seen 2-3 activists from Pediatric Forum. They don't accept a lead role of psychiatrist in those kind of teams. And I believe we should not quarrel with them. All that we should do is we have to raise our own stuff. We have to provide good training for our colleagues and students. And as we deliver better services, probably the question would disappear from discussion. And as why I had focused only on government colleges, because the currently more private practitioners and NGOs are delivering the services, and there is no exact model happening. So we cannot leave the policies to market forces. The government is duty bound to set examples and standards for these kind of services. Most of the children are having disability, so it is duty of the government to ensure that all children are covered. I salute the doctors Thomas John and Alka Subramaniam, who had corrected the anomaly in GO. There were 2 GOs, one by central government, another one by state government. The central government document completely missed out psychiatrist from certifying board. They included a pediatrician, clinical psychologist, pediatric neurologist. How many pediatric neurologists are there? But still, central government GO completely missed out psychiatrist. But our seniors had worked a good job, and they again forced the government to include us into the medical board team. So this is the final concluding slide. The way forward is popularizing child psychiatry, providing culture sensitive training to our professionals, increasing telemedicine practices, which helps in reaching the unreached, and setting up well-functioning CAP units in all postgraduate departments, and community-based care to be promoted, reducing stigma and liaising with the outside agencies, that is social welfare departments and judicial departments are very essential for comprehensive care of the children and adolescents. Thank you one and all. This is my idea and orientation toward CAP services and my experiences in organizing this care. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I invite the chairpersons, Dr. Sabita ma'am and Vikas Menon sir, to occupy the dais. The topic is over, now open for discussion.
On how the child and adolescent psychiatry services can be improved. The gap in the cap has to be reduced. That's what I think he has spoken about. That the preparing and delivering a management plan for the child and adolescent psychiatry. So where the government plays a pivotal role and certain policies has to be brought out so that it can be followed properly in a what do you call that, in a uniform manner everywhere, because really we also feel sometimes tough when we face in the board. Why? Because they'll be pressurizing us to do certain things. If we have a uniform way of examining and then certifying, I think that will be of help to all, so that we all can deny or we all can accept. That's what we are all planning. That's the thing. And the social and the psychological aspects are more, as he told, rather than the biological aspects, though biology plays a very important role. Sociological and the psychological aspects as a child, because so many persons are involved in the child, in molding the child. That is the thing. And therefore their cognitive as well as the emotional development. The child, what does it do when it is being supported? It will take the care, or it will be under their care, or it will be that is, it will form a shelter for it. So the child will not be able to understand what exactly that is required. So that is what is important when so many family members are involved in bringing up the child. Too many cooks spoils the broth sometimes. So that is the thing. And about the vernacular language training, even that is when it comes to any examination part, we don't have the Tamil language that is being involved. What he said, that has to be improved. We are translated so many things actually as scales, and BKT, I think it was also tough. I was also involving with him for some time. There was an IMH, so that has to be changed sometimes. He was telling that cycle pata enna solvanga. Now the cycle has improved to motorcycle, car. So many things have come. So it is the basic level itself. So whether the instrument itself has to be changed like that, so that the child will be assessed properly, okay, for the current scenario. That's very important, and the research has to be increased, and also the medical records again. We are facing problems, so it goes to the MRD department. We are not able to trace it out, so that what happened to the child previously, what is being followed up, we write in the notebook alone. Sometimes the notebook is also lost, so that has to be corrected. So we have a tough time. I have to ask the PGs to have a record in our own department, OP department itself, when the person or the IP person is discharged, okay, so that we'll have a record of it. So that is also has to be improved. I think with this, the gap can be reduced in carrying the CAP, that is the Child and Adolescent Psychiatric Services. Thank you. I think over to Vikas.
I congratulate Dr. P.P. Kannan on a very thought-provoking discussion. I think there have been lots of points that he has brought out, and as Madam has also rightly summarized, mainly he talked about how the infrastructure needs to be improved, both in terms of the physical infrastructure as well as the human resource infrastructure. And I thought the point about liaising with other medical services, including other departments as well as other organizations, outside agencies, which may be not within the ambit of the medical college. So basically, I think we need these kind of lateral thinking steps to improve child and adolescent psychiatric services. With the new normal digital age that we are encountering, these kind of problems are only likely to increase. And I think as an institution, as a society, all of us need to focus more. We cannot stay away telling that we are not child psychiatrists, or only empower the child psychiatry faculty in every department to take charge of this kind of expanding the services. But all of us need to pitch in and do our bit in order to give child and adolescent psychiatry the rightful place it deserves. I thank Dr. P.P. Kannan once again for bringing this issue to attention. Do we take any questions, or do we move to the...
I think I'll be taking up his Chengalpet. The CAP will be continued, I think, most probably. Okay, any questions from the audience and in the chat box?
I congratulate first Dr. P.P. Kannan for his excellent lecture. Sir, currently we are seeing child and adolescent psychiatric disorders are increasing, that the prevalence and incidents are increasing. But the general practitioners and other physicians, they are not, and even the pediatrician are, they are not able to elicit, and they are not able to refer. They are just saying it is nothing. Even childhood depression, childhood schizophrenia, childhood psychosis, we are seeing. How to convince the parents in that case? So what are the things to do?
We
I am asking that how to say the diagnosis the child is suffering from a schizophrenia, even a 13-year-old or 14-year-old child suffering from schizophrenia, how to convince the parents in that case?
And revealing the diagnosis like schizophrenia is really a difficult thing, and we cannot do it in one session. Probably we can ask them to visit the clinic a few more times, and we have to gradually break the news. I think it is not a simple diagnosis to break it in one session.
Because childhood epilepsy, they can easily find out and they can accept.
They
it is-
themselves,
yeah.
they come to us.
Yeah. But childhood schizophrenia,
Schizophrenia.
because of that, the patient, they are going for more disabilities. So, and chronicity of illness.
So the early identification and the early referral point you are you
Yeah.
are trying to mention. For that, we have to attend IMAs, and we have to raise the awareness among pediatricians and general physicians. That is the way, and we can reach public through media. That is how we can raise the awareness, and we can see the children at the earliest point so that the disability can be reduced.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir. There are very few child psychiatrists in our state. So, to what extent we can treat, when to refer to a child psychiatrist? Is as a psychiatrist, when to refer to a child psychiatrist?
Yes, sir. This is a very difficult question to answer, but best way is we ourselves getting trained to some extent. We cannot refer the children directly to a child psychiatrist. People would be expecting us to deliver care. Then, if it is, and we are not confident, when we have a dilemma about diagnosis or direction of treatment, then we can refer them and we can get a opinion from them. But I think the child psychiatrists are in single digits in Tamil Nadu at present, I think. We had not even touched 2 digits. In this scenario, I think we have to equip ourselves.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. P.P. Kannan, sir, for adhering strictly to the time. It was a very informative presentation. Now I invite the chairpersons to honor Dr. P.P. Kannan, sir, with a memento certificate. Now I invite Dr. Panneerselvam, sir, to honor the chairperson, Dr. Sabita Balasubramaniam, madam. I request Panneerselvam, sir, to honor, I request Sivaselam, sir, to honor the other chairperson, Dr. Vikas Menon, sir. I also request Sivaselam, sir, to honor the chairperson of the previous session, Dr. Arul Prakash, sir. Please, sir.